going to go down for winter, and I don't want to miss her. This is at my mum's place, and it's a really good little bunch.
Welcome to my channel, Tanglemire Gardens. I'm Nicola. Today what I'd like to talk to you about is this particular pond that is now sitting in the corner of our property. And so this particular pond, which is an above ground pond, is about 3 meters across and 1 and a bit high, and it was sitting just over there about 4 meters away. The reason why it's been moved is because this is an experiment. All right, it has no fish in it. Now when I had it over there, it was full of life. It had damselflies, it had fleas, it had all sorts of manner of little tiny creatures living in it, and it was fabulous. And then someone came along and threw a goldfish in here because they didn't want it anymore, without my permission or anything. And what it did was it ate everything, and I ended up with nothing. So I was so annoyed, and so therefore I moved everything that was in this pond over to another pond. It's a holding tank over there. And I shifted this guy over here. So now what I've decided to do is, I've always loved lotuses. And so I filled it with soil. I don't use soil normally. I would normally use river sand, not builder sand, not clay sand, not any other sand, only river sand. And it does not matter if it is coarse or fine, all right? And it doesn't have to be washed either, all right? Washed away with its clay. In fact, you actually need the clay. All right. So I put that in, and I moved some other plants from another pond, from over there to here, to clean it up and make it clean. Now I placed on, I'll just move the camera for you. Just hang on a second. Now you see all those red thalias sitting there? They're sitting in their own tubs. There's 2 tubs. And these beautiful guys here, this is them. This is another tub behind me. I'm going to put another tub over there to fill that gap. And the reason why I've got them there is in hoping that they would be a barrier against people throwing their fish in here. So then I have a gap between them and where the location of the pond is. Also, as another barrier, through summer anyway, what I want to do is I want to put a complete circular pipe in here, half a pipe. I'm just making all of that stuff up now, and then I shall be showing you what we're doing and how we're doing it in another video later on. And the idea is to grow lizard tail in it. Now lizard tail grows to about, what's that, 1/2 meter high, maybe a bit taller. You don't want it too tall. And so anyway, it has very fine, roots about the size of your finger, right? And they're all white, and it'll just go literally right around this whole thing. And then in summer it'll come up with these green leaves, and then it has a cream coloured flower, all lots of little tiny flowers all together, and it sort of comes over. That's why they call it lizard tail. And there is, I'd have to find out what it is, and put a little thing up, I think something to do with dragons or something, I heard, which should be really fascinating. Excuse me. Anyway, the perfume, I keep calling it smell, but the perfume that from a lizard tail is absolutely gorgeous. And if you ever go to have lizard tail, it would be a grand thing to have it near a door. Put it in a pond that's going to grow in near the door, so that you get this beautiful perfume coming through. So then also near the base of that plant, in the tray, I'm going to actually have white bacopa. Now white bacopa will just simply spread out a little bit into the pond. You need to keep that under control, and it'll come it'll come over the edge of the pond and hang down. I have a frog in my throat. Oh dear, oh dear. But in summer, when it has all those beautiful little white flowers, it will just be so brilliant for all the little bees and insects that will love that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. That I think that will look lovely. I want the bog bean. This is bog bean here. All right. Now I only know it as bog bean. If anybody else knows it as a different name, can they please let me know, because I've only ever known it then. Now it presently is in flower, but it's no use me using this camera to show you. I'll have to snip that into this film to show you a close-up of those flowers. I've only ever seen them now 3 times in my life. All right, frogs love this stuff. A little tiny sedge frog will just simply sit on one leaf. They're just gorgeous. If I can find the photo, I'll snip the photo out of where I've got that happening. Now, you've got to be careful with this stuff. It spreads, and it spreads by seed. And you don't even realize, because you hardly ever get to see the flower, you don't even realize that it's got seed pods. It's not like you could go around and chop them all off. And this just turned up. I moved soil from over there, and I put it in here, and it grew. Now, I've only ever seen it growing in shallow water in all these years, and here it is, 1 meter, 120, 130, something like that, and it has come from the bottom in the soil, and it has now grown, and it has now reached the surface. So this plant tends to turn up in other ponds because of the seed. So you do have to be careful of it. You don't want this one getting out into the wilds out there. Easy to mulch it, but just simply be careful with that one. So now what I wanted to show you about this pond is, and I'll just move the camera down so you can see, hopefully, this algae. All right, so this algae here is, this particular algae is there because what's happened is that water has a skin on it, and the plants have come up and hit up against the skin. So what's happened is the air inside has got warm or hot in some cases, and that has caused this algae to grow. So the way you get rid of this particular type of algae, I've found, is that you just simply cut your plants down about 10 centimeters underwater, the level of the water, and then all of this will dissipate, and it'll go away. That's what we found anyway. All right, and the plants in here, this is Valsenaria. All right, there's several different types of this stuff. So then the next plant that's in here is Alodia. Now there's a few different types again, and I'm sure that someone who knows more than I do about these sorts of things will know exactly what they're looking at, because I have been told that even though we call this Alodia, it's not. All right, but everybody calls it Alodia. This stuff outstrips Valsenaria, outstrips everybody. All right, so you can use this as mulch. Now the next thing I've got in here is bladderwort, and if I haven't already done a video for you, I will be doing a video on bladderwort, because I do actually love this stuff, and it's just finishing off its flowering now with all this bad weather that we're having, and eventually in winter this will sink to the bottom of the pond.
She's going to go down for winter, and I don't want to miss her. This is at my mum's place, and it's a really good little bunch, because I basically only have little tiny snippets of it now. Now what's happening is I've placed all this in here to keep this pond going, to get it all set up. Oh, who's that? I've got someone crawling on my arm. Thank you.
But in this particular pond, I've placed it in here to settle the pond. It's done that. Now what it's done is taken 3/4 of this pond already. The Alodia has already taken it over. So what I want to do is take all of that out and use it as mulch. And what I do want is this one, which is hornwort. Now, this doesn't have roots. I'll tell you a little bit about this plant. It doesn't have roots, but it does prefer, you can bundle them up and you can put a rock on it, and then it will do that. But you don't have to. You can just simply chuck it straight into the pond, like that. And eventually, within about 2 days or something, she starts to sink. And then what they do is they just sit up nice and proud like that, and they're just fluffy, just gorgeous. Now, one thing to take note with this is that if you have a UV sterilizer on your ponds, all right, you must not ever use this, all right, because this poor plant will be decapitated. It will be worse than that. Every single piece of that will fall apart within a week, within a few days, even a day, who knows. I mean, I've done it once accidentally. I thought, what the heck has happened? And it turned out to be the UV sterilizer. It's something to do with the ions in the water, so I read. So never ever use hornwort if you are using a UV sterilizer, because you will destroy this plant, literally destroy it. Alright, so what I want to do is, as I said, take all this other stuff out, leave my hornwort in here, and the reason why I want to leave my hornwort in there is because I want damselflies. Now, a week ago, this was covered with damselflies flying everywhere. And there are also lots of other insects that happen to like this. It's a healing plant, this one, in a pond. I've seen fish wrap themselves up in this stuff in winter to keep themselves warm. It's a very good plant for setting ponds up with, but I don't have a lot of it, which is why I want to gather everything that I got and put it in one place so I know where it is, because it gets swamped by Alodia. So now that I'm back in the garden, I really want to be able to sort out what ponds have got what in them. And like over there, it's just thick, thick, thick. It would be like going into a bamboo forest. You couldn't see your way out. So it gets thick, you use it as mulch. All right. So I think that's probably about all. I'm hoping you'll come along on the journey with this to see how it goes, and see what happens in it in winter, summer. Next summer will be amazing, and I'm just so pleased to be able to get back into the garden and actually experiment again, do things, learn things, and I know that this is going to work. If I can see it in my mind, I can build it. All right, and I just love that. And I just love being able to picture something in this head of mine and just go, and we'll make it. All right. So anyway, I think this is probably about me rambling on. But anyway, I shall keep you abreast of this, because it will look beautiful next summer. Thank you.